The longest surviving hereditary monarchy in the world is the Japanese imperial house. It started on the 11th of February 660 BC, and they are currently on their 126th monarch. It started with Emperor Jimmu, who is a descendant of the sun goddess and storm god, who may or may not have been real as he is part of the Japanese legendary emperors. An actual lineage can be traced back to the 29th emperor, Kinmei, who became emperor in 539 AD. The current emperor is Emperor Naruhito, but there is one significant issue with the 2,000-plus-year-old monarchy, and that is the line of succession all rests on the emperor's young nephew. To understand why this is, we have to take a quick history lesson. Let's go back to 1890. The emperor was Meiji, who wanted to modernize the monarchy, and one way he did this was to create a set of rules about how the throne would be passed down. He set out the rules such that only male succession from a male heir to the emperor could then become the new emperor. This made it clear that a woman and her children could never rule. Emperor Meiji passed on the throne to his only son to survive to adulthood, Emperor Taisho, who then in turn passed on the throne to his eldest son, Emperor Showa. And then World War II happens, after which Japan gets a new constitution. This constitution kept most of Meiji's succession rules, however it did not allow for adoption and laid out the rules slightly differently. The new constitution wanted to shrink the number of royals, so only those descended from Emperor Taisho would be eligible. Basically, the imperial line was reset from this emperor. This worked a little too well, and now the number of royals is very small. Here is the family tree of Emperor Taisho, with the current Emperor Naruhito here. Another thing is if women married a non-royal, then they would lose their title, and because almost all the royals had their titles taken away in 1947, all the princesses have no option but to marry commoners, and have been losing their titles left, right and centre. So we can pretty much remove all the princesses from this line. This removes all the other descendants from Emperor Taisho, leaving only the current emperor and his close family in the line of succession. Let us take a look at the rules set out in the 1947 constitution and see how these apply to the current emperor. When one emperor dies, the next emperor would be 1. The eldest son of the emperor. Naruhito has no sons, he has one daughter. 2. The eldest son of the emperor's eldest son. The emperor has no sons to have sons, so this does not apply. 3. Other descendants of the eldest son of the emperor. Again, not applicable. 4. The second son of the emperor and his descendants. Still not applicable to Naruhito. 5. Other descendants of the emperor. Still, these need to be sons, so it's still not applicable. 6. Brothers of the emperor and their descendants. Here we go, the emperor does have a brother, so he is next in line, followed by his son. 7. Uncles of the emperor and their descendants. The emperor does have an uncle, so he is third in line, but the uncle has no children, so his line finishes with him. And that's it, there are currently only 3 people in line to the Japanese empire, with all bets pretty much hedged on Prince Hisahito. The young prince was born in 2006. Until the prince was born, there was a serious succession crisis, with the last male heir born in 1965. A bill was drafted to allow for women to take the throne, but when the emperor's brother announced that he would be having a child, the Japanese government delayed the bill, and when the prince was born, it was eventually dropped. A couple of other options have been considered to solve the crisis. Allow older lines of the imperial lineage which were barred in the 1947 constitution. While this is a good idea in theory, it means that the family tree would need to go way back. Emperor Taisho was the only son born to Meiji, and Meiji was the only son to survive to adulthood of his father. In fact, since Emperor Kokaku, who was adopted by his second cousin once removed in 1779, I cannot find an emperor who had more than one son who survived to adulthood. In some ways, I'm in favour of this option, as I think it'll make a great romantic comedy with some unsuspecting Japanese man becoming emperor. What's more likely to happen is the emperor would adopt a son of one of the former imperial branches and then name him as his heir. This used to be more common and used as a way to stop succession crisis after a sonless emperor died. Another option that is floated is to bring back polygamy and allow sons through concubines to the emperor. This was suggested by Prince Tomohito, which he later said was a joke, and this does not seem like a likely option. The most popular option is to allow female descendants to rule if there are no suitable male options. However, the debate has stalled since the birth of Prince Hisahito, and could continue to stall until he's old enough to have children and the fate of the lineage can be seen. Since he is currently 14, this is still a while away, and in the meantime the number of royals continues to shrink as the princesses marry commoners and the elder royals pass on. Not only is there a succession crisis, but there is currently a labour shortage of royals in Japan to undertake royal duties. And as a part of the debate, there are talks about the princesses could retain their title when married so the number of royals can be retained. It's unlikely that the succession crisis will be resolved soon. The debates have been ongoing since the early 2000s, and with the matters unchanged, all hopes rest on Prince Hisahito. What do you think could be done to solve the succession crisis? Leave a comment below on what you think. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.